Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for yet another What We Really Learned from the past Chelsea game. And this time, not any Chelsea game. This time, from Chelsea for the first time since 2014, progressing through to the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League thanks to a 2-0 victory over Atletico Madrid last night. And what a beautiful, beautiful Thursday afternoon it is. I'm usually not a fan of Thursdays, whether we're in the Europa League or not. Just never liked Thursdays for whatever reason. But today is a great Thursday. I'm still gassed from last night. I think we all are. And that was just brilliant. First of all, big thank you to PSG for sacking Thomas Tuchel, because otherwise we wouldn't be here. So I'm a big fan of that. And to discuss everything that happened yesterday and more, including the Champions League draw, which will, of course, happen tomorrow morning, I am joined by the legend himself, Mr. Monster CFC. Bro, how are you?
Good, man. Good. Big up, bro. Thank you for inviting me on again. You know what I mean? Another day, another Chelsea win. Yeah, I'm happy, man. I'm happy.
Exactly. Like, it's just sick. I don't know. Obviously, I saw that you did a watch along with Tammy on your channel last night. Like, it was just good. Like, obviously, the first 10 minutes, Atletico came at us a little bit. And it was a bit, like Ziyech said, both teams panicked a little bit. I'm not sure whether I would have seen it like that, but hey, he was on the pitch and he said it's a fair play. But after that, it was just total domination. Maybe there was a 10-15 minute period before Savage got sent off where we were having to sit a little bit deeper and they put some more pressure on. But even then, never really looked threatening. The only real threatening moment that they had was this possible penalty. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it was just pure domination. It was in the first leg. It was in this game. This time we even scored 2. Probably should have scored 3, 4, 5, quite frankly, especially late on the break. Like, it was beautiful, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I think personally we won the game or the tie within the first round, if I'm being honest. I think we won it then, because one thing is, you know, obviously scoring and beating Atletico mean they had to come at us in the next game, innit? And obviously that's not their game. So them having to come at us will leave a lot of space in behind, which ended up being the 2 goals were basically taking advantage of the space they left in behind. Obviously the counter attack from Havertz to Werner, then to Ziyech, and then the second goal from Pulisic to what's his name? Emerson. Yeah, you know, so we took advantage of the situation on hand, invited them on, and we capitalized on at the right moments. So yeah, I'm happy, man. I'm happy.
That's exactly. I mean, Simeone even said after the game, like, they try to be aggressive, they try to press us, they try to change their usual game plan a little bit.
Yeah.
And he just said, well, we lost to a better team. You know, we tried to press them and they just played around us and we couldn't do anything about it. And that's what we are. And I thought it was really telling by Tuchel, or really interesting by Tuchel. It's like, yeah, if you want to go do that and you're a European team that's not used to doing that, good luck, because we play like that in the Premier League half the games, especially at least half the games that we've had on the Tuchel stuff. I just happen to be a lot of games like this. It isn't over the whole 38 games, not half of them are like this, but over the last, well, however many Prem games Tuchel had, a lot of them were like this. So we as a team, plus of course before even Tuchel joined, we as a team are fully used to this. We had no problem with playing around a little Atletico press who probably, because they're not used to it, can't sustain that for a full game. And we honestly just toyed with them. Like you said, obviously the big result was the away game, because that allowed us to, whenever it was necessary, to drop a little bit and not be too concerned that we need to go. And that's really what did it. But then we honestly just played with them. To get to the not thumbnail, to the lineup a little bit, did anything surprise you in that? Obviously Christensen was left out due to illness. That was a surprise to everybody, I guess. But other than that, was there any surprise to you, in particular the front 3?
Obviously Christensen, because with my predicted lineup, I think everything was the same, barring I had gone with Cho at the right wing position instead of Ziyech. That was it. We all know that Christensen would have probably started had he not been ill, as they say. So that I would have been correct on that. It was just that Ziyech pick. So yeah, that's the only one I say, okay, yeah, all right, cool. But I think the Champions League is more suited for Ziyech because there's a lot more space for him to do what he wants to do, unlike the Premier League, where about 17 of the teams or 16 of the teams are low block teams, so you won't even have the space. But yeah, it ended up being a good choice because he did score. And he had a decent game. So I can't complain about any other selection. I think everyone in that team was brilliant. No one dropped anything less than a 7 out of 10. So I'm not mad.
Exactly. Did you, when you saw the lineup, did you think Havertz was the false nine and Werner off the left? Or did you think it would be Werner up top? Because when we saw the lineup, I just thought, okay, Havertz false nine, a bit like it was against Everton. But then when the game started and I saw Werner was as the 9, that actually surprised me quite a bit. I didn't expect that. Obviously, it worked out perfectly, but I didn't expect it.
I think what I expect, or what I normally see, is they like to rotate a bit and change positions, a lot. Keeps the confusion when it comes to the it keeps a lot of confusion when it comes to the defenders. Defenders don't know exactly who to pick up or where to pick them up in it. Havertz has come deep a lot in the game as well. Werner at times was deep as well.
It was very fluid.
Yeah, when it comes to Havertz and Werner, whoever's playing this position or that position, I always expect them to interchange. So to me, it doesn't really matter what side they start on. I expect at some point they interchange and they change positions and things like that. So yeah, nothing really surprised me, to be honest.
Fair. I wanted to get into this a little bit later, but now we had a super chat of it. Aaron, big ups to yourselves. He asked about the UCL draw tomorrow. Of course, it takes place tomorrow, 11 a.m. UK time, wherever you live. Just use Google if you don't know what that is in your time. But 11 a.m. UK time. Don't know why they have to do it this early on a Friday. Like, what's the logic in that? Don't they sell ads and shit? Like, don't they want viewers? Why not do it at 5 p.m.? I don't get that. But anyways, you do you, Champions League and UEFA, you do you. But what are you saying about the draw? Because there's a lot of good teams in there. But to be honest, I back us against pretty much anybody. Obviously, the 2 teams I'd really like to avoid, at least at this stage, are Bayern Munich and Man City. I rate those 2 as the strongest opponents. Obviously, even though they knocked Juventus out, Porto are probably the weakest opponent. I guess probably followed by Dortmund.
Yeah.
Bar Haaland, obviously. And then I just love to be PSG, to play PSG and knock them out with Tuchel. I would just enjoy that a lot. But obviously Porto, in terms of if I really had to pick like a favourite, and then I guess probably Bayern, who I'd least like to play, I guess. What about you?
I think obviously everyone wants Porto as the number 1 choice. Obviously, I wouldn't mind Real Madrid, Dortmund, and even Liverpool, I wouldn't mind. So those are the 3 that I would, out of the remaining, how many's left? I think there's 4 left. So I wouldn't want a Man City. I wouldn't want a Bayern Munich, obviously. I wouldn't necessarily want who's the other team? Man City, PSG as well. Although I do think Chelsea, with the way we defend, as long as our players are clinical, because even when you're talking about Bayern Munich, it's you've got to have a great defense, and then you've got to be very clinical against them, because they will give you a chance to score. We saw it last season where they were at their absolute best, but both PSG and Lyon had chances to score and hurt Bayern, and they would have won the game. If they had just taken their chances, one-on-one chances to score Mbappe and Neymar, which they didn't take. Lyon was the same thing. They had chances early on, about 2 to 3 chances. You scored them, you would have eliminated Bayern Munich, but those teams don't do that. If Chelsea can just take their chances, which they will get against the Bayern Munich, you can win the game. But that's all it's down to, isn't it? That's all it's down to. So they are beatable. But obviously, I would want a Porto. I would want a Dortmund or Real Madrid, preferably over the other, or Liverpool over the other lot.
Yeah, I would actually think that PSG are easier for us to beat than Real Madrid. I know Real Madrid are less potent up top. I see that. If you take Benzema out of it, they're kind of in the mud, especially with the whole Hazard situation. But by the way, I feel really bad for Hazard. Have you seen the comments by the Madrid doctor that if he has a 3rd surgery on that ankle, that might be it for his playing career? But and the problem is that he keeps coming back too soon. And yes, he has muscle injuries. But the big issue, the over-surrounding issue for the whole season and the whole 18 months he's been there, has been a reoccurring ankle problem. And he just wants to play so badly that he's not giving his body the time to recover, which I feel bad for him. But anyway, I think, especially if they have the likes of Ramos fit, Toni Kroos fit, Casemiro fit, they just have these personalities that are used to winning. And I don't see that at all in PSG. They don't have that. You could make the case for Marquinhos, fair. But other than that, they have Mbappe, and God knows when Neymar is fit, because the man's injured more than he plays football. And that's for the past 5 years. Exactly. And all the PSG do, and I've said this yesterday already, that PSG-Barca game, I know they went through, and I know Messi kind of bottled it, but I've rarely seen a more embarrassing performance by a team that calls themselves one of the best in a huge team. Bro, you won 4-1 away. Show some confidence. Don't just park the bloody bus and go give it to Mbappe and inshallah. Like, that's all they did.
Yeah, that is all they did. But I mean, they won the first leg. What was it? 4-1.
Yeah.
The 4-1. I don't think they necessarily had to do anything else. Although, luckily for them, though, luckily for them, Dembele missed all those chances. Had he scored those chances, we could have had a different game. We might be speaking about a different team in the quarterfinals right now if Dembele had been clinical. So yeah.
That's Dembele though. Like, if Dembele scored his chances, Liverpool would have never won a Champions League because he had 2 sitters to make it 4-0 at the Camp Nou before, obviously, Liverpool's huge comeback at Anfield against Barcelona 2 years ago. So yeah, that's just sadly Dembele for you. I've said this. Obviously, yesterday Werner was good, but I've said this. Dembele is just Werner plus dribbling. But, you know, that's a little bit harsh. And yeah, by the way, like Chelsea Old Boy said, Lewis should be joining us whenever his stream finishes. So let's hope that soon for our sake. But yeah, that's going to be happening. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, by the way, please be sure to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. We're getting ever so closer to 9K. And obviously the road to 10K subs is well and truly on the way and on the horizon and whatever I'm trying to say. But yeah, subscribe to Monster as well. Of course, his link is down in the description below. Definitely check out his channel. Smash the like button. Use the super chat function if you want to support the channel, of course. But I think we've spoken quite a bit about the draw. We'll get into it again a little bit later on, I would say. But let's go back to the game yesterday. Obviously, we spoke about the lineup. But I want to pick out a few players. Obviously, we're going to get to the 2 or 3 super highlights in terms of N'golo Kante, in particular, maybe Antonio Rüdiger and Hakim Ziyech, obviously, for getting the goal. But there was so many players that were just absolutely brilliant last night. I know you said no one dropped under a 7, and 100% agree. But Zouma, honestly, the fact I was significantly worried when I saw Christensen isn't here and it needs to be Zouma that plays in the middle. I was just thinking back to that Southampton game and how he bottled it for that Minamino goal. I was not confident with that. And he dropped a masterclass. Yeah, maybe not quite as strong as Rüdiger. But considering I was worried about it, I was super impressed with Zouma. His passing was better than it has been in some games. Obviously, he always looks unorthodox, but he never really lost the ball in any, problematic situations. He was super aggressive. Suarez, like him and Rüdiger, absolutely pocketed him. Super aggressive on him, super aggressive on João Felix when necessary. Mobile, movement, very impressed by him. Very impressed by him.
Yeah. Zouma stepped up yesterday. Like, I was worried because I'm not saying he's not a good defender. The only problem I have with him is he's not sure about him on the ball and his positioning as well. He normally gets caught out in it. I think he had a brilliant game yesterday. He copied Rüdiger led by example, and he followed in Rüdiger's footsteps in terms of that aggression. That just when them lot were on the ball, just get them off. Hounding them, not giving them a chance to do anything in it. I thought he was brilliant yesterday in it. I think he was someone that not many people talked about because everyone was talking about Rüdiger or talking about Kante or Ziyech. No one really talked much about Zouma. I think he had a brilliant game yesterday, man.
He really did. Yeah, it was good to see him. It's kind of crazy. Like, obviously, many times, I'm not sure whether you and me have spoken about it at the time, but there were so many players which all of us fans, and I don't think anyone can exclude themselves from this, deemed as dead wood. I'm not even saying Zouma was one of those, but Rüdiger.
Speak about this every week.
Exactly. Rüdiger, Alonso, some people even got to that level already with Hakim Ziyech.
Yes.
Whether you talk about Giroud, Tammy Abraham, and other than, I guess, Tammy, and even Giroud, other than the overhead kick, especially the defenders. Tuchel has made all of these look like bloody prime John Terry. It's a madness. Like, I don't know how this has happened. Thiago Silva gets injured. You could be worried. Christensen comes in masterclass.
I'm not trying to slate Lampard or anything, but one thing Lampard did, and he did wrong, was he had no trust in his squad. He gave us the belief that all these guys can't do shit. They're rubbish players. They don't deserve to be in this team. Blah 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 blah. That was the message Lampard sent out there. If players were injured, he would still play them. Do you know what I mean? That just means you have no faith in your team. What Tuchel's come and done is he's implemented a system that No matter what players are playing in that system, they're good. Do you get what I mean? You know, Klopp has this. Guardiola has this. We've seen it with Guardiola. Guardiola over the years since he's been in the Premier League has suffered injury after injury after injury. Company, Laporte, Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva at times. Doesn't matter.
John Stones,
Fernandinho, John Stones. It doesn't matter. If one person's injured, there's someone else to fill in and will play it to the level that the others are playing it anyway. Tuchel's done that. Thiago Silva's out. Boom. Christensen comes in. Christensen's out. Okay. Zouma comes in. If Jorginho's out, Kante's there. If Kante's out, Kovacic is there. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter who's injured. Anyone else, Tammy's injured, okay, Werner or Giroud, whatever. It doesn't matter anymore. That's what a system does. That's how a system works. When you've got a system and you've got players playing, what do you call it? It doesn't matter who's playing. The rest of them will carry out the work needed to get the wins. And that's where Lampard failed. Like you said a minute ago, he made us feel like all these. I used to see people talking about how these lot are dead wood, blah, 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 blah. I always used to ask myself that if they're such dead wood, how was Sarri able to get the best out of them? How was Antonio Conte able to get the best out of them? How was Silva last? Okay, Silva, let's take Silva out of it because he was good. How was Havertz good last season at Bayer Leverkusen? How was Werner good last season at, Leipzig? How was Ziyech good last season at Ajax? How are all these guys good? And then all of a sudden, when Lampard's become the manager in front of them, they're all shit. Do you get what I mean? It doesn't make sense. And it tells you maybe he was out of his depth. We had a squad. Chelsea have, to me personally, I think Chelsea have the most in-depth squad in the Premier League.
More than City.
Yeah, maybe more than City, or at least on the level of Man City. At least on the level. We're talking about centre-backs. We have 4 centre-backs, and also remember we had Tomori at a point. That's 5. Left-backs, we had 3. We have Alonso, Chilwell, and Emerson, 3. Right-backs, we have Aspi that can play there, and we also have...
In numbers, for sure, we have a huge scope.
But it's not just numbers. It's not just numbers, because you say numbers, but all of them can still play.
Yeah,
to a good level. Everyone thought Marcus Alonso was down and out, and look at it, all of a sudden he's found his way into this team. If that was under Lampard, that would have never happened. We all thought Jorginho was dead food. Dead. Get him out of the team, blah, blah. We've seen how good he is. Let's not even get started on what Matt Law and the rest of the journalists were doing when it came to Rüdiger and how they tried to get the fan base to bully Rüdiger. Do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, Rüdiger's looking like just based off form, he's looking like a world-class centre-back. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I just don't know how to feel about it. Now I'm starting to question whether maybe it was Frank Lampard, if I'm being honest. Maybe it wasn't the players. Maybe it was Frank Lampard. I don't know. I don't know anymore in it.
Yeah, I mean, there is obviously a lot of ways to think about this, to discuss this, and I don't want to make this, the whole stream a whole Lampard debate, and I know you don't want to either. Obviously, we had certain injuries, especially Ziyech had that injury. Havertz obviously caught a certain Rona, which obviously hampered him, under Frank, especially when things got serious. Plus, you could make the argument that Frank was playing the team in a way that he was hoping for. It would give us long-term success. Tuchel has come in and knows he's not going to be long-term success if he doesn't have immediate success. So he knew he has to play a system that clicks right now. While Lampard probably tried to play a system that was more something to work towards, a bit like Klopp did at Liverpool. And I still think to this day, and I'm not comparing Lampard to Klopp, still think to this day, if Klopp came into Chelsea in a similar situation to he did at Liverpool, he wouldn't have made it as far as he did and would have never gotten to the success part. But you do also have to think about Lampard physically saying in a press conference, this team isn't ready to compete. And look at us now.
Yeah,
you can't say you're not ready to compete. I'm not sure I agree with you that we have a better squad than Man City, but I think it's probably second best behind Man City. Obviously, inexperience plays a bit of a factor compared to, say, a Liverpool squad, but still, a second best squad is still good.
I think my problem was listen, I'm not trying to slate Lampard. I love Lampard. Lampard's my favorite, obviously, player. Well, not my favorite player, but he's one of Chelsea's best ever players. One of my favorites of all Chelsea players of all time. Innit? I think my only issue was that maybe where I think he went wrong was that just You should have just trusted in your team more, trusted in your squad more. I think the issue with him was he just wanted to play the same 11 or 12 players over and over again. You just have to trust in your there's a squad for a reason. Do you get what I mean? So if Reece James is injured, remember against Arsenal, Reece James and Chilwell were injured. Okay, use Emerson or Alonso or use Azpilicueta. Simple as that. We move on to the game and onto the game. And that was his issue. He didn't trust in his squad enough. I'm not trying to slate him or anything. I'm just saying you have a squad for a reason of 22, 23 players. Use it. Do you get what I mean? They're not just there to be paid and do nothing. They're there to play in it. So when I'm seeing people say it was injuries and blah, blah, that's true. There is injuries. Thomas Tuchel's going through injuries right now. Thiago Silva's injured. Christensen was sick or whatever. What happened? He used Zouma. If that was Lampard, that wouldn't have happened. He would have probably used them injured, if we're being honest, in it. So I'm just saying maybe he should have used his squad a bit more. And now we can see that these players are not dead wood. They're not done and they're not dead and out. Do you know what I mean? These guys are actually good players, isn't it? So I'm impressed with everyone in this Chelsea squad so far. There's no one I'm not necessarily impressed with. There are a couple players I feel need to step up a bit more, like Ziyech, Pulisic, and Ben Chilwell. But they've not been horrible, have they? So, yeah.
100%. And Chelsea old boys, by the way, cheers for the donation, saying Thomas Tuchel is a world-class coach. Zouma has learned, just as the entire squad has, tactically, mentally, positionally, with belief. Imagine a front three with 10 to 15% more. And I mean, even last night, you could make that case because, like I said, especially on the break, the longer the game went on, we could have scored 3 or 4. We really could have done. I mean, Hudson-Odoi probably could have scored 2 by himself. Of course, if he scores the first one, his second chance probably doesn't happen. So, but he should have scored 1 at least. Let's not kid ourselves into thinking that that's not true. So, that's that. But I appreciate the donation. And obviously, we spoke about Zouma a little bit, and I think he deserved that. I think Azpi obviously made a little bit of a mistake, and that's why I want to talk about the penalty situation. Personally, I still don't think it's a penalty. The whole entire bloody world and all of the English media has decided we're going to call that a penalty and going to make Chelsea's win seem lesser now. Don't know why, in my opinion. Like, he had his hand around his hip, I get it, but he didn't grab his shirt. He just had his hand there. This is a contact sport. People need to understand this, in my opinion. It's not NBA. It's not basketball where you're basically not allowed to touch the guy. It's a contact sport. There will be contact. How can you claim a penalty for what Azpi did on Carrasco, but then also say that Rüdiger's push on Suarez at the edge of the box is nothing? Like, that doesn't correlate. You can't give a foul for the one and not for the other. Either you give a foul for and even then, the Rüdiger is closer to a foul than the Azpi one. I know he underhit his pass, and that's a mistake, and he shouldn't even get himself into that position. And then he got scared, and Tuchel even said himself, Azpi probably got a bit scared, and that's why he did that reaction, right? Do excuse the ambulance in the background. But did you think it was a pen? I didn't. And it kind of triggered me when I watched all this post-match stuff that everyone seemed to make it as a clear pen.
I was worried that it could have been given a pen because it was stupid of Azpi to do that in the first place. It was stupid. Some referees might give it. I do think it was a bit of a soft one. But it's like, Azpi, don't even put yourself in that position to even be able to make the referee and VAR consider it. Do you know what I mean? I think it was very soft. Number one, the one thing I say is the guy didn't have the ball yet, so Mendy could have got there.
I think so.
So I would say, nah, I wouldn't give it as a pen. And I know people would say, well, you're a Chelsea fan, so of course you would say that. I just think it was a bit soft.
Yeah. And I know, obviously, I saw this debate that they had on BT Sport, whoever these people were, Chris Sutton and this presenter, who clearly hates Chelsea more than I don't know, his...
Hey, Chris Sutton. I'm pretty sure Chris Sutton played for Chelsea, if I'm not wrong.
No, not Chris Sutton. The presenter clearly hates Chelsea more than his bloody mother-in-law. Because that was a bit of a madness. He would not go off the fact that this is a clear penalty in his books. I think Carrasco just goes down too easy. Obviously, that dude made the point. You have to go down, otherwise you never get a pen. Well, he went down and didn't get the pen. I think he just fell so theatrically, difficult word to say for me, clearly.
That's what they do in the Spanish league.
Exactly, that just made it look silly.
Yeah, in the Spanish league, they get touched, they drop to the floor as if they've been shot. That's what they do. Yeah.
It's a weird one. And personally, again, we haven't seen a real replay of that. Maybe Timo Werner was offside in the build-up. But I think the much more clear penalty was when Havertz got kicked in the foot. Again, if Werner was offside in the build-up, obviously that negates the whole thing. But I think that's a much more clear penalty than, the Aspi and Carrasco one.
Yeah, but Werner was in an offside position. Yeah, so I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think that would that would count. Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. I wasn't sure whether he was offside or not. Yeah, but hey, at the end of the day, that was really the only like close call moment, if you will. Obviously, there was one moment where N'golo Kante had to steal the ball from João Felix last second in the first half.
Yeah,
in the box, and there was one very good save by Mendy from João Felix rather late in the game. But other than that, we had them under total control. And I don't have you under total control, Lewis, but you're here, and that's great. So, my friend, how are you?
I'm good. What's everyone saying? Still gassed off yesterday.
Exactly. Sorry, what were you saying, Monster?
Lewis, are you high, bruv?
No, I'm good. I was just saying I'm gassed off the game.
Exactly, bro. It's sick. Obviously, me and Lewis did a watch-along together on Blues Fans TV yesterday, so we actually spoke to each other for once, but I actually headed off before we made it 2-0. So I think the next guy, because I had to prepare the live review of Blues Fans TV. So the next guy I actually want to talk about before we get into the super highlight players, because we just discussed Zouma for a little bit, Lewis. I think we just have to mention Emerson. I enjoyed Tuchel's comments on him. He was like, I kind of feel bad for him because I leave him out so many times. He kind of suffers from those decisions consistently, and that's obviously a problem for him. And yes, maybe at the start he wasn't quite suited to what we want from the left wing back or we want from the left centre back. But to come on and score with a finish like that, with your first touch of the game in such a huge game, it's just, if only some of our other players had finishing like that.
It was a great finish. And the thing that stuck out to me the most was that we probably needed a left-footed player for that situation. Because Callum Hudson-Odoi was finding the ball in the same sorts of areas, but he had to cut inside a lot more. He had to open himself up, and that second or two was what was stopping him from having a decent delivery. Emerson, he made that run. It was a lot more natural to him because he's going to hit that across the face of goal. And what a great finish from him. I can only imagine what the reception would have been like if we were in grounds. People on Twitter were saying it would have been like the Morelos goal in 2011-12. So that sort of effect.
It might have been. And obviously to see the guys on the stand, let me just get the picture up one more time because I just love it that much. Like, it's just so sick. Like, it's so sick. Thiago Silva almost falling down the stairs for a minute, running back up. Jorginho and Mason Mount storming out of nowhere. It's just great to see Mendy running the whole length of the bloody pitch to celebrate with everybody. Like, it's just sick to see. And obviously what Rio Ferdinand and Joe Cole said, I mean, it's easy to stick together and have a great connection between the squad when you're winning. True. But still, it's just good to see. It's just good to see. The one thing that I thought was a bit weird, why was Tammy not in the ground? I mean, I know it was his Mrs. Girlfriend, Mrs. birthday. But still, why were Mason and Jorginho and Thiago all there, but Tammy wasn't? Did anyone else think that was a bit weird?
I saw on his Instagram account, he was at home, weren't he? I'm not wrong. He posted a story of him watching the game on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. I honestly don't know why he wasn't there.
But Monster, hit me.
Yeah,
what did
I
you
was
make
thinking because the injured one out of the lot. No, Thiago Silva's still injured as well, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. He was injured.
Thiago Silva's injured, but it's probably just we don't need to force him back into the lineup. That's what I've really thought. I always thought if we need to put him back, we probably would have by now, because he seems fine by all accounts, and we were talking about him being in training like for weeks now.
He looked a bit limpy up those stairs to me.
I might have to relook at them, but I didn't notice anything too much.
Regardless, it's not that deep. I'm not even having a go at Tammy at all. I just thought it was a bit strange that the other three were there and he wasn't. But Monster, what you're saying about Emerson, obviously I'm not even sure I want to get into this whole debate of is Emerson a shout for left wing back or whatever. But it's just, I've always liked the guy. I know a lot of people don't and a lot of people didn't. But I always thought, first of all, his voice doesn't suit his body at all, which is, I always think that's, intriguing about people. But I liked him, he was such a good player at Roma, but then picks up this awful injury and we sign him. It's just struggled to properly bounce back from that because he's, other than early in Frank's, tenure in the first season, never really got a chance to play super consistently. Even under Sarri, struggled to get that done. So I'm just happy to see a guy like that get a goal. These guys don't get that many minutes. So for him to get that goal was just good to see him up. And what were you telling me, Monster? What were you saying?
Yeah, he was good. He was good.
He only played for 2 minutes, but
the thing about Emerson is Emerson. I mean, I know the reason as to why he's not performing or he's not getting in the team. I tell you, if I can tell you, I've said it a million times. Emerson parties out a lot. I don't think he necessarily takes this opportunity of being at Chelsea necessarily too serious.
Is it? Even now, but because you can't really party these days, can you?
But before, I've seen him a few times when I used to go out in London. I just don't know, like, because Emerson's someone that I feel could have been a great left back, still very young as well. I'm just not sure on him. Like, I remember him coming on against Tottenham earlier in the season, and we controlled the game. I'm talking about the game in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah,
we're winning the game, controlling it, doing well. It looked like we was going through, and then Emerson comes on for Chilwell, and not being aware of Lamela behind him, misses the ball, and Lamela creeps in behind him, hits it past Mendy. Then we go on to penalties and we lose. And it's just things like that. So it's like he has to now his opportunities are limited. It's up to him to take them. If you want to be at this team next season, I don't know if he does, because he's still wanted by a lot of people in the Serie A. It's up to him if he wants to stay at Chelsea to prove himself. Otherwise, we might as well just move on from him. Simple as that.
Yeah, I definitely see where I'm coming from, and I agree with Flyer's comment as well. Emerson is just one of these defenders that doesn't enjoy defending, and that's the problem with him. He's good on the ball. He's great in possession. He's got good dribbling. He loves a good shot from distance. Not always the best shot from distance, but he loves to try. Crossing is as inconsistent as it is for Alonso and Chilwell. Let's be honest, none of these three are good at crossing. But he just doesn't enjoy defending, which is a bit of an issue. Obviously, if what Monster told us is true, that's a problem in itself. You never know. People grow up. Maybe at some point he gets just out of that and realizes, that's actually a bit stupid of me, so let me stop that. Obviously, partying, going out isn't really possible at the moment anyway. So, maybe that helps him stop doing it. I don't know. But hey, it's a tough one. And I guess now we probably have to get to the main man from last night. N'golo Kante. People know me and Lewis. I don't know about you, Monster, actually, but me and Lewis have always said, yeah, he's brilliant, but he needs to be in the right system, in the right position, and he has certain limitations. Yesterday, other than maybe one or two decisions in the final third, the man didn't have any limitations. The man was an absolute monster. He was dribbling like he was bloody Hazard. He was running like he was bloody Ramirez. He was defending like, Kante, I guess. Stealing the ball left, right, and centre. Being like Tuchel said, you have at least half a man extra. There was the photo going around. If you're Atletico midfield, then you just see 5 Kantes around you. Like, it's crazy. He was so good. It was honestly, it was brilliant to see. Like, that's proper prime N'Golo Kante. And I think people have to accept the fact that he can't play like that week in, week out, like maybe he did at Leicester, like he did in his first season with us when we won the league under Conte. But every now and again, a bit like in the UEFA Super Cup final against Liverpool, he can pull off a performance like this. And the important thing is just to manage him. And that's what I like. The Tuchel has at least reportedly said to these 3 guys, Kovacic, Jorginho, Kante, I will use all of you 3. I will rotate you depending on opposition, depending on what we need, depending on fitness. And I will make sure I use all of you. And that's what he's done perfectly. And all 3 combinations that we have with those 3, Kovacic, Jorginho, Kante, Kovacic, Kante, all 3 have worked incredibly well. And don't know how he's managed to do that. I never thought that would be possible. But talk to me about Kante yesterday, Lewis. Talk to me about Kante.
Yeah, that felt like vintage N'Golo Kante. The way he was driving the ball forward, and the biggest part that stood out to me was the fact that he wasn't losing the ball. That was the only question mark we had with N'Golo. I was like, bro, this guy can break up play just like the old N'Golo Kante. That's never been disputed this season. It's been, can he retain possession? And that's been the biggest problem. Because I always said, and I say this to Kovacic as well, I don't mind what you do before the final pass. It can be as beautiful. It can be as many players as you want. If you lose the ball afterwards, you've lost the ball. And that's regardless. So I give Kovacic credit because his forward passing has really improved. And N'Golo Kante, he didn't lose possession either. His passes were excellent in this game. I have nothing negative to say about his performance. Like, that was man of the match by a mile. I think he did win man of the match as well. It's also raised a few questions because the biggest question has been how can N'Golo Kante mesh well together with a Kovacic or a Jorginho in the midfield too, as compared to Jovic, because they both make each other look so much better. But if Kante can play like that on a more consistent basis, you can't bench him either. So now we've got an even bigger selection headache. And I love these selection headaches because these are the ones that you want instead of do we play Bakayoko or do we play Drinkwater? Like, we've come a long way. But same way, it's a question. I don't know. Do we go for Jovic or do we find a way to slot N'Golo Kante in if he keeps playing like this? Because there's 2 out of those 3. In fact, all 3 of them can't be dropped, but someone will have to.
Someone will have to. And obviously it depends on, say, who we draw against in on other games. You know, you need to rotate these guys. Kante played the last 2. He won't play against Sheffield United. I'm almost certain of that. Probably Billy and Jorginho, you presume, even though that's a weird combination. Maybe not then. But you know, Jorginho would definitely play. I would expect. It's weird. Any of you guys know now which specific players we won't allow to go out on international duty due to restriction problems?
I know it's Germany and I know it's Brazil. I don't really know anything else past that. France have made a squad. England have made a squad. I think it's just red list countries for the UK.
I don't know what the red list countries are for the UK. Now. Yeah, do that. Because I know Austria, we can't use any of our German players, of our players that play in the German Bundesliga, when we play away at Scotland or the World Cup qualifiers, which is infuriating because Austria's squad is like 80% German Bundesliga players.
Yeah, I've just got the thing up here now. I've got Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia. Oh, Ethiopia's got put on the list. Can't be asked. Who else? Is there anyone else that could probably impact us? Portugal, South Africa. No, to be honest, Germany's not there.
Oh, that's disappointing. Would have been lovely for Werner and Havertz to get a bit of a break, get a bit of a tactical.
Weren't traveling anyway, though.
Yeah,
I thought they weren't traveling.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think another player before, actually, now let me get your thoughts on Kante, Monster. Obviously, we touched on it a little bit earlier already, but how good was he yesterday? Have you ever, because people have spoken about this is one of the great midfield performances. People say they've rarely seen a better midfield performance. Was it that good?
Who, Kante?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. He was everywhere, all over the pitch.
Yeah.
I think that run there is a slap on the face of the people that were saying, get rid of him now, sell him, he's old and blah, blah. The man ain't even touched. Football fans are a bit weird that someone ain't even touched 30 and you're calling him old already. Do you know what I mean?
To be fair, he turns 30 in like 2 weeks.
Well, but even the age of 30 is not it's not old as a footballer. Do you know what I mean? If it's old, then what's the whole point of us getting Thiago Silva? Then he must be a granddad. Do you know what I mean? If 30 is old, like they're still well in their prime. It's good to see him doing what he's doing because, you know, thanks to Sarri and Lampard, he was overused. We were never going to see the best of Kante because he was constant. I remember what was the Europa League final. Kante was forced back from injury for that game. Okay, well, absolutely wiping Arsenal. Sorry, take him out and we move to and you know, give him a rest. Sorry, played him for the whole game, and I was like, Jesus, man, you're running this man to the ground on an injury, and that kind of affected him last season. Hence why you saw Sarri, he kept picking up injuries last season as well. Was constantly used by Lampard as well, not giving him enough rest. And then when Tuchel's come in, Tuchel's giving him some time off. Remember in the beginning he wasn't even playing. Against low block team, he practically doesn't play as well. I think he's, and yesterday we've seen it. As long as he's fit and ready to go, you're going to get a minimum, I think, 8, 9 out of 10 from Kante. He's the best in the world at what he does. Do you know what I mean? Him and Thiago Silva right now, they're Chelsea's only 2 world-class players. I don't think there's anyone you can say in Chelsea that's world-class, barring Thiago Silva and Kante. So I feel like a lot of Chelsea fans have disrespected him, and he's shown yesterday who he is, and people forget who he is. Now he's shown it. He's actually shown it, man.
I think I agree in terms of the world-class statement, but I think he's only useful to us when his attributes help us as a team. There is opponents where playing Kante is worse for us. As much as he's an overall better player than, say, Jorginho or Kovacic, there is certain opponents that we play against where their attributes, their qualities are more suited to what we require in midfield than what Kante.
I just said that.
No, I know you said. I'm just trying to explain it further.
Against low block. If you're playing against low block teams, there's not really a point in playing Kante. Then you play Jorginho and Kovacic, innit? If you're playing at teams that are going to get us and you need Kante to recover that ball and you know what I mean, and stop their play, then yeah, he's perfect for that, innit? So yeah.
100% perfect. And ladies and gentlemen, by the way, we have 330 people watching. Big ups to all of you guys. So make sure you get subscribed. You know, we're getting ever so closer to 9K subs. I think we're like, 80 away or something. So the more of you that are new here, and go subscribe right now, that'd be sick. Smash the like button because it turns that little thumb, that little hand from grey to blue. That's what we want. So make sure you smash the like button. Use the super chat function if you want to support the channel, become a member. But even more importantly, subscribe to both of these guys. Both Lewis's and Monster's channels are down in the description below. Check both of these guys out. The next guy I want to talk about quickly is Reece James, because he was very good yesterday. You know, people talk about he was so good they took Carrasco off. I also want to touch on quickly the fact that Trent Alexander-Arnold has been left out of the England squad for simply not being very good at the moment. And Reece James is in there. And obviously there was a whole debate, Reece and Trent, who's better, and blah, blah, blah. Well, at the moment, it's clearly Reece, at least according to bloody Gareth Southgate. So that's funny. Also, why has no one ever talked about the fact that bloody Trent Alexander-Arnold is named after a river? Like, who's named after a river?
What?
Isn't
river?
Trent
the river
Isn't
Trent.
that so-called Trent? Isn't that a river? Isn't that weird? Like, who's called off the river?
That's the reason why.
Eh?
That is mad if that's the reason why. I never knew that.
I don't know if that's why, but it's still the same
What,
thing.
did someone say that on Twitter or something?
No. I just say it's called the same thing.
Oh.
But what about Reece James? I think obviously there has been a lot of debate in a lot of situations. Is he that good as a right wing back? Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Yesterday he was top notch. Like obviously, me and Monster said it before. Everyone was top notch, but he was real top notch yesterday. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong defensively. He was perfect going forward. He was tackling. He was helping in midfield in terms of coming a bit more central than he would in other games in terms of when we needed to build up more than Alonso, who stuck to the byline consistently. Very happy. Like honestly, I mean, we could say that about literally every player, but all of these guys are just taking step after step after step in the development phase, and that's why. And we'll get to that next. We are genuine Champions League contenders. I'm not saying we're favourites. Well, we're contenders now. We're in the top 8. We're definitely not one of the 2 worst teams here. And no one, as many people have pointed out, no one will want to play against us, that's for sure. Not Man City, not Bayern Munich, not anybody. But what about Reece James, Lewis? What did you make of him yesterday? And also, what did you make of, Trent being left out of the England squad and, Reece being in there and that?
I already said Reece James was better than Trent. And they try to roast me for it, but it's just getting more and more apparent. Trent's not having a good season, even though Reece James has had a bit of time to adjust to right wing back role. I think this was one of his best performances in that position. Going forward, he was a constant threat and his deliveries were excellent. People are going to say he was passing backwards too much, but we were always the ones that didn't need to fully go for it. I don't mind us playing that safe sort of game as long as we don't have to pay for it. Like, we were smart and it worked. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, even yesterday, he weren't even passing back that much, to be honest. I remember there was one point that made me laugh where he was going back. And then it's like Atletico Madrid knew what he was going to do. And then basically they forced him to go forward. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was quite good. By the way, I've just been sent a screenshot. Antonio Rüdiger, Kai Havertz and Timo Werner will be available for Germany selection after the DFB, just German FA, confirmed that Premier League players will be granted special entry to Duisburg for the upcoming World Cup qualifier. So them 3 will be in the Germany squad, which is a bit disappointing in terms of giving them rest, working on tactics, whatever. But regardless, it's good to see. Before we get to Hakim Ziyech, the goal scorer, I want to talk about, unless you have anything extra to add about Reece, Monster, or was that really it?
The thing about Reece James is, listen, I won't jump the gun and say he's better than Trent yet. Do I think he can be better than, or he has the attributes to be better than Trent? I think he does.
I think on form.
On form, yes, but I feel like he hasn't necessarily done enough to say, okay, well, you're better than Trent. Do you know what I mean? The level Trent's got to is best right back in the world. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's the level Trent's got to. Reece James hasn't got to even the level of saying the best right back in the Premier League just yet. I do feel like he still has a lot to learn, just has a lot to learn and a lot to step up for. and then we can be talking about, yeah, he's better than Trent. But as of right now, although I feel like he has the talent and the attributes to be better than Trent, I just feel like he hasn't shown it just yet. He hasn't shown it yet.
Can I ask you a question then? Who do you think is the best right back in the world? Because it was Trent, and Bayern Munich don't have a standout right back. Real Madrid, Barcelona, I mean, Carvajal's injured all the bloody time. Bloody Florenzi plays right back for people. Like, who actually is the best right back in the world, in your opinion?
The thing is, the reason why Trent is not looking like the best right back in the world is, remember, Liverpool's midfield has been, and defense has been injured, innit? So he's had to do a lot more defending and not enough going forward. And even with his defending, which we've all called him a fraud on, he's actually been quite decent defending this season, innit? So if I'm talking about, I don't know who I would say in the world, because I haven't necessarily looked at the rest of the world in terms of. I was just about to say, it might.
The only problem is he plays left back half the time.
I was about to say Cancelo, yeah, because Cancelo, whether you put him at left back or right back in the Prem, at least he's looked solid. So I would say probably Cancelo.
He's up there. That's true.
Kyle Walker as well. I know people who have their reservations in him, but he's actually been quite good this season. So it would be one of those two.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair shout, to be honest. I think Pavard, you can't mention as that personally, and I've seen quite a bit of Bayern. And Hakimi ain't a right back. People need to get us out of their head. He's a right winger or a right mid in the three at the back system. That's not being a right
wing back. He's a wing back.
Yeah, but even then, he's closer to a winger. That's like Hudson-Odoi playing right wing back. Close to it. Yeah. But anyways, enough about best right back in the world. And Lewis, who do you think is the best right back in the world? Cancelo? Reece James?
Reece James. Second by Azpilicueta as well. Big Dave.
And third
also
by
Andreas Christensen. Right
yeah?
No, third is Andreas Christensen if you convert him to a right back position.
Stop it, bro.
I love it. Let me quickly. I don't think Monster has got that much longer, so let's quickly kind of get through a couple of other players that I want to discuss before we get into are we serious Champions League contenders. Kai Havertz. I'm so happy to see the guy just turn up. I've made this comment yesterday. The man finally looks like this smooth, this gliding across the pitch that I keep talking about. Man looks like he's on a Harry Potter like broomstick. You know, the guy just glides about. Left, right, centre, pace when he needs it, agility when he needs it, the touches. Okay, a couple of touches in the box were actually a bit off. But in general, 3 games, by the way, now, 3 starts in a row after not starting for, God knows, 2 months or something. 3 starts in a row, 3 kind of different positions, a proper false 9 against Everton, a kind of more of a real 9 against Leeds, and a left 10 against Atletico Madrid, and one of our best players in all 3 games. That is outstanding, and that's the kind of Kai Havertz I thought and hoped we would sign. And again, the kid's only 21. Like, he will get so much better. And people say, "Oh, we shouldn't have signed Kai Havertz. We already had years." No, we had to sign Kai Havertz once we had the opportunity. And if we managed to build us up as a club back to the proper European elite, which, you know, qualifying for UEFA Champions League quarterfinals is a big step towards, and we can keep that dude for the next 10 years, he will be some player. I'm telling you, Lewis. What about Kai?
Havertz.
Yeah,
like he's really to get into the forward role. Some of the forward passes were amazing. Like, we'll talk about the first one that's up, the first goal for Timo Werner with a brilliant assist to Hakim Ziyech. And that was really for us because we were counter-attacking a lot in periods of the game. And it was part of starting the attacks. And he's starting to get a lot more comfortable with that role as we keep going. And did you say he's going on international duty?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, okay, damn it. Because I was thinking I'd get some game time in Field United too if they want him. But with that in mind, he's definitely going to get rest. But it's still for the best of him. And it's still going to give him more time to rest in the job. But he's starting to a lot more Premier League. Playing in European competition as well would have helped him too, because it was a lot more open, that sort of match. And it's just about him still. The finished Kai Havertz. Like, we're still nowhere near seeing what final product's going to be. We're already seeing more glimpses, and we can spot. And for a lot of fans doubting him, they can start getting excited about Havertz. Like, I've been excited since the start because I know what this guy is capable of. We're just starting to see the benefits of it.
100%. Monster, what about you? I saw you nodding when I was speaking about Kai and how good he looks at the moment. What have you made of him, especially in these last 3 games and last night as well?
Yeah, yesterday he looked brilliant, man. Just just the little things he was doing looked amazing. His little touches, his passing just looked great. He's a baller, man. That's all I got to say. I thought he was excellent yesterday again. Obviously, setting up the first goal. I know he didn't get the assist, but that dink into Werner, and then Werner going on to give the ball to Ziyech and scoring. And just throughout the game, he was just causing them all loads of trouble, innit? So I thought he was brilliant yesterday. I loved the way he played. There's nothing more. I think he's one of the candidates for man of the match as well. But yeah, he was brilliant yesterday.
He really was. He really was. I get to Antonio Rüdiger quickly because I was just so impressed by him. The only one moment where he got a little bit done, I don't remember which player it was when Azpi kind of had to clean up for him with that kind of like front post, getting your foot in there to clear the ball moment. Yeah. But other than that, not sure what happened to Lewis. Probably his internet died. But Rüdiger was superb yesterday, wasn't he? Like that was a proper leader's performance. I've never been one to call Rüdiger this leader or this, John Terry, this proper leader. Not at all. But yesterday he played like that. Getting Savage sent off, whether you think it's harsh or not, it's smart. Laughing at the other players after, getting in there, getting under their skin. He already did in the first leg with the Suarez thing, getting under their skin, probably even more so with the press conference, how he spoke about it. He was a monster yesterday. He was a proper monster, wasn't he? No pun intended.
Yeah, Rüdiger was a beast, man. I always wondered to myself, because Rüdiger was really, last season when he was injured, I was always wondering to myself, like, I was waiting for him to come back. I was like, oh, Rüdiger's coming back soon. This guy's going to be a beast for us, blah, 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 blah. And then last season when he came back, he had horrific games against, like, West Ham and all these guys, innit? Rüdiger, to me, should be, if once Azpi and leaves, Azpi and Thiago Silva leaves, if Rüdiger's still here, I think he should be captain. I think he's more of a leader. I'm talking about leader in a sense. As a leader, he's more of a leader than anyone else in that team, barring Azpi and Thiago Silva. I think or maybe obviously there's Jorginho as well. I think he should be captain. I've been saying this from the beginning. Saying he's a leader. He's very vocal compared to the other players. A lot of the other players, they're brilliant on the pitch. They prove whatever on the pitch, but that's not what necessarily makes a captain. A lot of people talk about Mason Mount, but he's a leader in his performances, but that doesn't make him a leader of a team. You could say the same about Kante, leader in performances, but he's not a leader in a sense. So I wouldn't necessarily make him captain either. I think Rüdiger
what makes you say that Mount isn't a leader outside of performance? Because I would argue he is. Obviously very young, and more of it is still to come. Mind you, he's 22. But I think he has that aura about him, trying to drag people with him, whether it's in terms of vocally plus performance. I see it.
I've not seen him as vocal on the pitch. Like, not seen him. I've watched Mount, and he's not that vocal on the pitch as people make it out to be. I think Rüdiger, if there's anyone that's more vocal than anyone on the pitch, it's Rüdiger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, vocally he's super.
When players are messing about or whatever, bad passes, whatever, who's there screaming in their face like, "What are you doing? Blah blah, fix up." Who's pushing them around, get in your position and this and that? It's Rüdiger. Do you know what I mean? That's what a leader is. That's what a leader does. People might feel otherwise. People just think what it is with a lot of people. It's just the best player should be captain. It's not necessarily the that shouldn't always be the benchmark for what a captain is. A captain is a leader. When John Terry was in our team, he wasn't our best player, but he was always our captain. Do you get what I mean? What do you call it? Even a lot of people say John Terry's our best centre back, but when Carvalho was there, John Terry wasn't the best centre back. Carvalho was. Not everyone's going to want to say that, but John Terry later become the defender because of Carvalho, innit? I think if Rüdiger is still here past a lot of when these guys leave, I think he should be captain as long as he keeps up the consistency and he keeps the way he is in it. As long as that, I wouldn't mind him being captain.
Fair enough. I personally actually agree with Flyer's comment here, saying his shouting can be reckless and at times not constructive. I will always go back to that moment, I think against Brighton, where Rüdiger messed up and nearly let Brighton score, and Zouma had to clean up for him, and he then went to shout at Rüdiger, saying at Zouma, basically saying, "What are you doing?" And that to me gave me a vibe of like, shouting as if he's bloody Maldini, but not playing like it. I know now he's playing very well, but I still think there's a lot of vocal players on there. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't necessarily. I don't necessarily think you have to be the most vocal to be captain.
Chelsea don't have vocal players. I remember Lampard. One of the issues Lampard said he has was he didn't have no one that's vocal enough. He actually said Kepa was one of the most vocal players. He said
he is
all of them. Yeah, he said. I remember. Who did he say? He said Kante was always silent. He said he couldn't get none of them to talk enough. He said Kepa and Rüdiger were the only guys who he could, would speak to players. Yeah. So that's an issue to me. If you're not going to be vocal on the pitch, then you shouldn't be a captain.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think Mason. I see what you're saying. I agree that Mason isn't quite there. But I think first of all, for Mason, I think it's John Terry is maybe a little bit of a different example. But I don't think in 2021 we can expect John Terry's, to be born a leader. That happens less than it did in the 90s. Do you know what I mean? Or whenever John Terry was born, as in making it to a first team in the 90s. That's less the case. You have to remember, I think he's 22. I think if you just gave him the captaincy, it would automatically become more vocal because then he feels, now I'm allowed to, if that makes sense. But at 22, you might still have a little bit of reservations with that. Plus, I think he got a lot more vocal this season as this season went on, especially through the tough spell that we had before Frank got sacked, compared to last season. And that's only a natural development. But I still see what you're saying.
You say he got more vocal. Did he get more vocal or did he just play well? That's like, I think what a lot of people are misconstruing. I think what a lot of people are misconstruing is that we're saying because he's the best player and he's the one that stepped up when Lampard was, what do you call it? Was obviously everyone wasn't playing well and Lampard got sacked.
Struggling, yeah.
I think he was the one playing the best. That's why everyone's saying he should be captain, isn't it? But I don't necessarily think that should be the case. It's like when Mourinho was, when Mourinho got sacked and everyone was tanking, the only person was Willian that was playing well. I mean, will we say give Willian the captaincy? No. And that's the same situation with Mason Mount right now. I don't think he's the most vocal or he's the best leader. I just think because he was playing well when everyone else wasn't, everyone's now like, all right, give him the captaincy.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to agree to disagree because, like I said, I think he wasn't just playing well. I think he was also vocally trying to drag the team out of the mud. Lewis, what about you? Do you think Rüdiger could be or should be captain when, say, Thiago Silva and Aspi are gone? Obviously, Rüdiger isn't actually that much younger than Aspi. I think he's 29, is he? So he's only 2 years younger than Aspi, really, or 3. So a little bit, fair enough. But, by then, who knows what happens to Reece James, Mason Mount? Who knows how vocal they become by that point? But what do you think? Is Rüdiger a genuine captain shout for you, or are you more leaning towards a Mason Mount? Long term, obviously, not tomorrow.
This is the thing, because I think by the time a Silva and Aspi are gone, and Jorginho as well, because he's vice captain, I think those players will be a lot more older and they'll be a lot more matured as well. And I think for the look of Chelsea as well, they will want to have one of those youth players be our captain too. Rüdiger could be an option, and to say that he wouldn't be captain or vice captain wouldn't be the worst idea in the world for me. He'd be one of the players up there. But
I think he'd be a great vice captain.
What?
I think he'd be a great vice captain.
Yeah, I do think he should have a sort of captaincy role, but I also think it probably will go to a Mason Mount. Could potentially go to a Reece James as well. Anyone else in the back line, though? Not really anyone else that sticks out to me other than unless we bring someone else in, but we always usually do it based on seniority anyway. So, yeah, Rüdiger could be an option. I feel like things have to fall in the right place as well, but he'd be a decent option, but he does. Whoever that was in the comment section, they did have a very good point when they say sometimes he's vocal in the wrong ways, and him and David Luiz were both they both were caught doing that the same amount of times as well. David Luiz is the same sort of guy where he'd make a mistake and he'd shout at someone else for it. I think with Ivanovic as well, he used to do it too. I remember
David Luiz was destined, although obviously he ended up leaving him, but he was destined to be. Had he not left, he would have probably been Chelsea's next captain.
Do you think?
Probably.
Do you think
yes,
so?
Yes.
Under Jose Mourinho.
He had the bloody Brazil when they got battered 7-0.
No, Mourinho was going to leave. Mourinho was going to sell him, but I'm saying if Mourinho didn't come and another manager came in, and obviously when Terry and them left, I think David Luiz would probably been the next captain.
Might have been.
The squad that we had. Oh, Ivanovic? Because I felt like it was based on seniority. Because I even saw Ashley Cole get given the captain's armband at one point, but I don't remember Louise getting it.
You
given
basically saying, Monty, you were saying
spell.
instead of when Cahill became captain, you were thinking that's when it would have been Louise.
Actually, maybe
because until then Terry was there, obviously.
You got to remember as well. David Luiz was there longer than Cahill, wasn't he?
Yeah, a year longer. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a bit confusing. Because I was hearing a lot of rumors Chelsea wanted David Luiz to be a future captain, innit? That's why I was thinking, yeah, you would have gone on to become a captain for Chelsea.
Yeah, I think, but hey, the performances would have had to go along with it. And if the performances would have gone along with it, it probably would have never been sold. And it's similar with Rüdiger. If he plays like he is now, ask me that in a year. If he does that for a year consistently, I would probably say yeah. Then
we even say, with David Luiz being in terms of performances, I don't think under Mourinho just never gave him a chance. He just didn't rate him at all. So he never even gave him a chance to have a good performance. Remember, he had against Liverpool that 2-0 game at the end of the season. David Luiz, he put him in midfield, and David Luiz was unbelievable, innit? I just don't think Mourinho just didn't like him. Remember, just like how he didn't like Mata and never gave him a chance. I think it was the same thing with David Luiz, just never rated him, and that's why you barely saw him play that season.
Who signed Luiz?
Ancelotti.
Yeah, exactly.
In January.
He did, yeah, that's true. Same window as Torres, that was. But let's move on from Rüdiger. Let's talk about Hakim Ziyech quickly. Because it was very interesting yesterday. So obviously scored the vital goal yesterday. Had a good performance, in particular, after his goal. It was very interesting. And after the game, Thomas Tuchel was kind of still criticising him a little bit. Saying, we played him yesterday because he's the closest one to Mason Mount in terms of work rate, which is interesting, especially to all the people that say he's lazy all the time. He might look lazy, definitely not factually lazy. But he said he needs to, a few things. First of all, he needs to become a little bit clearer in what he's going to do so that Werner and Havertz and the other players up top actually know the kind of pass he's going to play, because otherwise it's pointless. He needs to make sure he doesn't lose the ball so many times in tricky situations, and he needs to weigh up when to play a risky ball and when to stay safe. And Tuchel was criticising all of those things. And, I think he's right on all of those things, but I thought it was a weird time to criticise him for it. Well, what did you make of that, Lewis? The fact that he picked that out last night when he finally scored, and, scored his first goal at Stamford Bridge and, obviously scored a vital goal.
He didn't have a good first half, man.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, go on, Lewis.
Oh, Hakim Ziyech. I said it was two different types of Ziyech. Like before the goal, after the goal. After the goal, he was full of confidence, and it did feel like the old Hakim Ziyech. The flair was back. He was creating chances. He was finding players in the right spots. He nearly had the second goal as well. But before that, he weren't really saying too much. I'll be honest about it. But we won't notice it because he had a brilliant 60 minutes after that. So I'll just take it. But I get what we're saying, where we're still waiting for him to grow a little bit more too. He still needs to get a bit more match sharp, but hopefully we've finally seen him turn a corner now, because that's the best Hakim Ziyech we've seen in months. Yeah,
for sure. I said this last night already. Oblak should have saved that goal. And if Oblak, sorts himself out in that moment, we're not praising Ziyech here. We're saying another huge sitter that our team missed. Because he should pull a better shot off. I don't care whether it's your weak foot or not. It should be a better shot. But I'm not gonna say he's bad. I'm not gonna say he was bad. But Flyers, I'm sorry, bro, you're wrong with that. He does. Ziyech works super hard. He's just a bit lazy when he's on the ball, in terms of he looks lazy because he doesn't. I don't know. He gives the ball away too much and doesn't look that bothered about it after. But I think in terms of work rate, he's definitely up there. But Monster, what did you make of the criticism by Tuchel and Ziyech's performance overall yesterday?
It's justified, man. He didn't have the best game yesterday. I know he scored, but if he didn't score, people will be slating him right now, innit?
Possibly.
But he did step up and score, and like Lewis said, he ended up what do you call it? He ended up gaining more and more confidence as the game went on, innit? With Ziyech, I expect him to perform in the Champions League because there's a lot more space for him to do what he wants to do. Whereas in the Premier League, 9 games out of 10, we're playing low block teams, and there's not enough space for him to do what he's going to do, innit? So yesterday, he didn't have the best first half. I think it was the second half after the goal. That's when we started to see the Ziyech we all know from Ajax, innit? But that first half wasn't necessarily the best first half, but he picked up in the second half. So, you know, when you just balance it out, I'll give him, he had a good game. Simple as that. He had a good game.
For sure. His passing got better and better. That outside of the boot pass to Werner was gorgeous. The one where he made the player by the sideline and then played a perfect through ball to Werner, who then forced a good save from Oblak. That was very good. That was very, very good. And I guess the last important thing before we get to these couple of small rumours that, you know, some reader really wants to talk about, apparently. Are we genuine Champions League contenders? Because when this draw happened, we said we got the toughest draw we could have had from any of the teams that came second in their groups. Obviously, we couldn't have faced the likes of Man City because they're English or Bayern Munich because they topped their group. We beat them. And realistically, if you think we beat Atletico Madrid comfortably, how many serious shots on target did they have over these 2 games? 2? Okay, they had a penalty claim yesterday. If they get that penalty, who knows how the game goes, right? Fair. But at the end of the day, it didn't happen. We were super comfortable. We dealt with them. We scored 3 goals against them. Could have scored more. Are we serious contenders? Obviously, I'll ask you that in a minute, Lewis, because me and Monster spoke about it earlier, who we'd like and who we wouldn't like. But are we serious contenders, Monster?
Yeah, I mean, you're in the quarterfinal. You're in the quarterfinals, so automatically, by default, once you're in the quarterfinals, you're a contender, isn't it?
Porto a serious contender?
You could listen. You never know. This is the Champions League, man. You never know. Do you get what I mean? The situation on hand is though that when I look at the teams, obviously I mentioned the teams that I would rather draw. So Real Madrid, Dortmund, Porto. I would rather draw, but then there's also, and Liverpool as well. There's also Man City. The thing about Chelsea is they got a good defense. So if this, like I said before, if this defense can step up and continue playing the way we're playing, and also our attack can score goals, because with the teams left, all of them, maybe barring Porto, they're going to leave the space at the back. They're going to give you all the chances in the world to score. The question is, are you going to score them? Bayern Munich, when they played Lyon, it was a situation they had. Lyon had all the chances. The question was, can you score? They didn't. They wasted their chances. The same thing when Bayern Munich went against PSG in the final. It was a simple question of, can you score? Mbappe and Neymar had multiple chances and didn't score, didn't finish their dinner. So the chances are there to score to win the game. It's up to you whether you're going to take it, because if you don't take it, then you know what's going to happen, isn't it? So if Chelsea can step up and score their goals, then I have no doubt in my mind that maybe we could even beat a Bayern Munich. Do you know what I mean? It's not far-fetched. It's all about, can you take your chances? As simple as that.
Yeah, and I guess the interesting thing about that is, obviously, I don't know when exactly the quarterfinal will happen, but you would hope that the longer we have on the Tuchel, the better our players will get also at that part of the game, because the more we'll get used to creating super clear-cut chances that even Werner can't miss. You know, when you're in front of an open goal from 2 yards, I'd expect even Werner to score. Sorry for the thing, but you know, the bigger chances that we create, the less that it's half chances, the easier it will be to score. And the hope would be, the longer we are on the Tuchel, the more that, you know, we have, say, an international break. Okay, to be fair, a lot of players will be gone still, so it will be difficult to work on anything. But regardless, hopefully we'll get better at it. JP, appreciate the donation, by the way, saying, give us Dortmund, Real Madrid or Porto. Agreeing with Monster here. Monster, by the way, I don't know, do you need to head off?
Not just yet.
Okay, cool. Brilliant. Lewis, what about you? Who would you like? Do you agree? Dortmund, Real Madrid, Porto? Do you have a standout favourite? Bar Porto, I think we'd all agree that if there was one we'd probably prefer to play against, probably Porto. And who would you least like to play against? You can name a couple if you want to.
For me, like we said, you just said it perfectly. Real Madrid, Porto, Liverpool are kind of our 3 easiest options, even though they're still going to be difficult to manage. I just don't want Bayern Munich, really and truly. But even if we did get Bayern Munich, like, you never know. With the way that we're playing, anything is possible, even though beating Bayern Munich over 2 legs might be way too much to ask for. But if we want to talk about the turnaround from last season to this season, that would be right in front of our faces. Other than that, though, I could fancy us against anybody, because we're playing with that level of confidence and with that good of tactics and we're that hard to break down, that Why not? Why couldn't we go and get a result against anyone? Our squad has been capable of that. We have a squad of that quality. We already know that. It's about time we showed it, and we're finally starting to show it. So bring on anybody, to be honest, but I'd rather take Real Madrid, Porto, or Liverpool.
Exactly. I think you have to throw Dortmund in there as well. I think people are a bit scared of Dortmund because of Haaland, but if you watch Dortmund regularly, Dortmund are, and I know Sancho is good, and I know Gino Reyna is good, and I know Gio Reyna, and I know Marco Reus has his days, and Julian Brandt. They have good players, but there's a reason why they're struggling to even make top 4 in the Bundesliga. There's a reason. They are most certainly beatable. Bro, Sevilla almost turned it around against them, and Sevilla were down and out. So, like, Dortmund are certainly very much so beatable. And for the banner, it would be quite good to, like, put Haaland in the AC penitentiary and then let him out when we sign him in the summer. Do you know what I mean? So you know, you can't really complain. But Lewis, I know you spoke about on your channel, but do you think we're genuine contenders where you're like, we could actually do this? Because I see, in my opinion, almost too many people say we could actually win this. I'm saying, yeah, we're in there. Let's see what happens. But I'm not going to say, yeah, we might well win the Champions League. I think that's a bit too far. But what about you, Lou?
It all depends on what we do in the quarterfinals. Once we get to semi-finals, yeah, we do have a chance of winning the Champions League. It's just getting past the quarters. Take it a game at a time, as always. And it depends on who we draw tomorrow. We'll find out the confirmation. We'll know how big the mission is for us. But right now, it's down to 8 teams. We've got a 1 in 8 chance of winning it. Why not? Like, I got no reason.
That's how it works, but, you know.
You got to think optimistic, and you got to put a bit of bias to it as well. I mean, you got to think of it in the case that we haven't been this far in about 8 years. So if we've got to this part now, why don't we go further? But yeah, I've got quiet confidence.
There you go. Hey, let's leave it on that. I think that's a good place to end it. Ladies and gentlemen, I really do appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in today. We're still at 360 people, so make sure you get subscribed. Let's hit 9,000 subscribers today. That'd be absolutely awesome. Like, we're only 80 away or something. So make sure you get subscribed right now. That'd be massively appreciated. It's the last, like I said yesterday, the last service station on the road to 10K, and that's what we're on. So get us to 9K, and then the road can well and truly get on the way. Obviously, depending on how things go, you know, we might hit it by the end of April, depending on how many big games Chelsea keep on winning. Because for me, unlike for other people, I get the biggest views when we win, not when we lose. So, you know, as much as people don't like to take the piss out of this, it's actually true. So the more big dubs we can take, the better, in my opinion. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, again, make sure you subscribe, smash that like button. Let me see how many we're on, actually. Can we get to 200 likes? How many are we on? 163. Why not? Come on. There's over 300 watching. So let's get to 200 likes. Smash the like button right now. It'd be massively appreciated. And of course, big thank you to both Monster and Lewis for coming on. Check out both of their channels down in the description below. Subscribe to both of these guys. They both genuinely deserve it. Brilliant content that they create. Guys, you know, if you have any 1 or 2 words to say, again, check out both of them. But brilliant for coming on. Let me go with you first, Monster, because you was actually here from the get-go.
No, I don't really have anything to say. I'm just happy that, you know, Chelsea won. And now we move on to obviously the next round of the Champions League. And I'm happy, man. I can't really say more than that. Do you know what I mean? All I can say is thank you, Chelsea, man. You made my night. It made my night. So yeah.
It made my week, I'm telling you. And just quickly, this Aguero stuff, I don't think this Aguero stuff has any truth to it. And Dybala, I don't want another half 9, half 10, half winger that we can't fit in the team.
I actually think the Dybala situation is not the Dybala. The Aguero situation is true. I think it's actually true.
But as a backup or as a starter?
Listen, say Chelsea. I look at it from this angle. Now, if Chelsea sell Tammy Abraham, which could be likely if Tammy Abraham doesn't sign the contract Chelsea are offering, because I don't think Chelsea are gonna necessarily give in to Tammy's demands, innit? So if Chelsea sell Tammy Abraham, they sign Haaland. They also, obviously, we know Giroud is leaving too. Then we've got obviously just Werner as the natural striker there, and then we've got 2 spaces available. Obviously, we buy Haaland. Then there's another space available for 1 more striker in it. What's wrong with bringing Aguero on a free transfer? Say his wages are slashed in the sense of the way Thiago Silva did as well. He slashed his wages to come to Chelsea. I mean, is there anything wrong with that, having that extra option?
Oh, no, 100%. If that so happens, if it's a case of bring Aguero in, even though we signed, say, Haaland, I'm 100% on board with it. I'm just not sure whether Aguero will leave City to be a backup somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know he's not the youngest anymore, but it's not exactly super old. Let me check out how old he is. But do you see where I'm coming from with that, Monster?
Yeah. To me, it's a low risk, high reward type situation. Like, it's not a big risk, and it's if it works, it works. If it doesn't, hey, it doesn't work, and we move on. It's as simple as that. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't think there's anything. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, if his wages are drastically slashed from what he makes at Man City, that is a big if. The injury, proneness, if that's a word, is a problem as well. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, he's barely started games for Man City. Obviously, some of that is tactical reasons. Some of that is the Rona that he had, if I'm not mistaken. But still, it's a problem. He's injured a lot. Probably won't come and fall for free, and probably when he's fit wants to play. But Lewis, would you take Aguero as long as it doesn't mean we don't bring Haaland? I thought it would be a case of we'll try Haaland, we'll try Lukaku. If neither of those happen, we might have to go for someone like Aguero. But if it's a case of no Haaland is a no. Yeah, that's true. But would you take Aguero, Lewis? Oh wait, you're muted, bro. There you go.
I was saying if we can lower the wage value, yeah, we'll go for that. I'm fine with that. I think it's only about whether he's also going to be willing to take less of the game time. Like, he's gone down at City in the pecking order, but that's been due to his injuries. And I feel like if he wants to leave, he'll probably want to leave for more game time. So if he comes to us, he'll have to accept the fact that he won't be starting every game week in and week out. But if he does, he would be a great option for us, and that just makes our depth that much stronger. I wouldn't be against it. Like, we've seen exactly what this guy can do to us on his day. Like, he's scored against us more than any other top 6 side. He's been a demon against us. But if the price was right, and if Tammy did leave, and we needed another striker, yeah, I'd go for Sergio Aguero. It'd be a great 1 or 2 year option for us.
Yeah, 100%. I just didn't see it in a way that it could
just
be
don't
hard.
give him the number 9 shirt, because then he'll be pissed from the start.
True. Like I said, I just didn't really see it as a valid option to get him and Haaland, just because I'm not sure how much of a wage cut he'll be willing to take. But just quickly, because I like to end these, especially when they are, we have them in the chat. Quick fire questions. Monster, Aguero or Lukaku? Yeah. We're talking about right now, not overall career, because obviously then it's Aguero.
Right now, it makes more sense to get Lukaku. As great as Aguero's been, he's coming towards the tail end of his career. So I would probably take Lukaku.
Exactly. And I think in overall career terms, it's obviously Aguero. So I could have stopped it that way. Lewis, what about you? Same? Lukaku or Aguero?
Today? You said it perfectly for me. It would be Lukaku right now. For all time, though, yeah, it's Aguero. All time. But exactly. Either or.
I'd go for the same. What about Modric or Toni Kroos? Obviously, Modric won that Ballon d'Or once, became best player in the World Cup, only because Kevin De Bruyne didn't decide to turn up against France in the semi-final, because otherwise Hazard would have won the World Cup and be player of the World Cup. But, Modric or Toni Kroos? It's a tough one. I'm going
with Modric. I saw the way he performed the other day, and he was still brilliant. I go with Modric.
Lewis, what about you?
I'll go Modric as well. I really wish we got him when we had the chance, but Daniel Levy, the wild lad, stopped that. So it is what it is. But yeah, Modric, quality player. Not nothing against Toni Kroos either, but Modric, man, the way he pushes the ball forward for me. Yeah, I'd go for him.
Fair. I think I'd probably pick Toni Kroos, but I also know him a lot better because he actually has a podcast with his brother in German, obviously. I actually very much enjoy listening to it, and it gives sick insight, which is maybe why I'm favouring him in that sense. Also, he's actually won the World Cup, to be fair to him, was one of the star players in that team. And I guess at Madrid, they've probably won equally as much. So I'd probably rate Toni Kroos a tiny bit higher, but hey, it's a close one. And then lastly, let me go with you first, Lewis, this time. Get PSG for the banner to kick Tuchel's old team out, or get Dortmund just because it's probably a little bit easier?
I'd probably go PSG. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Because Dortmund, their defence is a mess, but they've also got Erling Haaland. And I mean, if our defence keeps Erling Haaland quiet, then yeah, we can go for the Champions League. Fuck it. PSG, though, bit tribal about it as well. They knocked us out the last 2 times, so I want us to get one back on them. Also, Thiago Silva and Tuchel returning back to their old club. We probably will get PSG just for the storyline aspect of it, but we haven't even drawn Dortmund ever, as well. That's the maddest part. We've never drawn Borussia Dortmund. So now might be the right time for it, but I'd just push the PSG.
Fair. Obviously, Monster, I kind of know your thoughts on that already because you said Dortmund's one of the three you'd like to draw most, but that's true, yeah? Exactly. I think we're there now finally going to leave it, actually. Thank you for the support of everybody. I'm just going to leave you with one crazy stat that came out last night. Chelsea have only ever won both legs of a knockout tie twice. Last night was the second time. The only other time we've done that was over Benfica in the Champions League quarterfinals back in 2012 when we last won it.
I was just about to say Benfica as well. That's the only one I remember.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only one. How crazy is that, though? Like we've been in Champions League finals twice. We've been in Champions League semi-finals, God knows how many times. And we've only ever won both games in the knockouts twice. That includes yesterday. So that is crazy to me. But hey,
we're winning the Champions League.
Exactly. The omens are getting bigger and bigger. Dubois' thread is getting longer and longer of all of the things that tell us it's going to happen this year. Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it if it does. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for watching. Really do appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be sick if we could hit 9K tonight. If not, hey, let's hit it soon and the road to 10K is happening. Smash the like button. Again, massive thank you to both Monster and Lewis for coming on. Appreciate it a lot. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea. I'll see you tomorrow morning for at 10:45 probably for a UEFA Champions League quarterfinal draw live reaction on this channel. I'm pretty sure we'll all be doing one. So, we'll all have to fight for viewers, but hey, so be it. Like I said, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea. And I'll see you next time.